Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent Nintendo slash gaming video for this week, for the week of September 26th to October 2nd. I suppose all of you are getting ready for Halloween this year and so forth, though. I'm going to try to do a video review for this week, though. I want to try to get it done, but certain things have started to pop up, and I'm going to try to see if I can squeeze it in and get one done and ready for by Tuesday, though. Hopefully that's the case. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, though. And also, I do want to say I kind of forgot to bring this up in my last My 2 Cent video, and that is the announcement of the cast who will be voicing some of the characters in the upcoming Super Mario movie from Illumination and Universal. And the idea of folks like Jack Black playing Bowser and Chris Pratt playing Mario, I'm still kind of mixed on this to a certain degree. I'm not saying these actors are bad or anything like that. I think Chris Pratt has done a great job in the Jurassic World franchise and the Guardians of the Galaxy, though. It's just, I'm having a hard time him voicing Mario in a way, though. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, though. But like anything, I'm going to give the cast that they picked, though, the benefit of the doubt at this time. We haven't seen the trailer, though. I mean, it could be good, it could be bad. I mean, look how the Sonic the Hedgehog movie played out. The first trailer, it was bad. The second one was good. And the movie in the end turned out to be much, certainly, I won't go as far as the greatest movie ever made, but it certainly was one of the better movies based off a video game, and it was enjoyable, to say the least. So it's possible that could be the case with the upcoming Super Mario Brothers movie. That and the fact that Ryan Reynolds did voice Pikachu in the Detective Pikachu movie. So I'm going to give this the benefit of the doubt for the time being, but I'm still somewhat having a hard time trying to wrap my head around the idea of Chris Pratt voicing Mario, though. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover, though, including some interesting information in regards to Bayonetta 3 from a feature that may have been used for basically in the canceled Scalebound that might be in it too. Kamei, if I'm saying it correctly, responding to people who want to see Bayonetta 3 on other systems, though. We do also want to talk about some of the response Square Enix has made in regards of Triangle Strategy, which is the official name for their new game, based off the feedback they got from the demo, though. I do want to talk about basically this Switch 4K rumor that popped up to the point that Nintendo had to actually respond, but now we're learning about a patent that may have been filed. And I also want to give my thoughts on the game Voice of Cards Island of the Dragon War. They just recently put a demo out for that. I believe the demo is available on PC, PS4, and Nintendo Switch. I tried out the Switch demo, and I want to give my thoughts about that demo, to be exact. If you're interested in where I got a lot of these sorts of information, though, I'll have the links are in the description, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But we'll first start off with what is basically the quick My 2 Cents. Stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details and all. The first one is a non-gaming one, though, and that is that supposedly Scarlett Johansson and Disney has settled the whole Black Widow lawsuit. In case you're wondering, the lawsuit was filed because of the fact that supposedly the actress basically only got, profits from the movie in theater, not on like Disney Plus, since the approach was Disney was going to release it in both theaters and Disney Plus, though. And in a sense, I kind of had I did side with Scarlett Johansson on this one, because I really think that if you're going to put the movies on streaming and basically on theaters, then I think the actress should get a cut from the streaming, though. Now, obviously, they settled it, though, and it could also explain why the movie Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings was not on Disney Plus right away and all. We also learned that Microsoft is working every day to increase their lineup of Japanese games, especially on Game Pass. They brought this up, especially with the recent announcement that Scarlet Nexus, good game to be exact, is now available on the Xbox Game Pass, though. So I mean, that certainly is nice, and I'm glad that they're working hard to get that in. So we'll see exactly actually see if we'll see an increase of Japanese games on the Xbox Series S and X, though. I mean, we've had recently with the Yakuza series, so the more games on the Game Pass, the better, I'm hoping. So certainly that is a good thing, though. We also learned that Sony has confirmed that they have acquired Blueprint Games. They are the ones that did that Demon Soul remake, though. From what I understand, though, this was a studio that basically, for the most part, has focused a lot on the PlayStation games. So this one, I would say, it's a welcome addition to the Sony family, but not on the level, not on the ground-shaking level of Microsoft buying Bethesda or anything like that. We learned that there's rumors going around that Konami is reviving, the Castlevania and Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill series and all, which in theory sounds great, but then you have to remember this is Konami we're talking about, and given the directions they were going, not to mention how Metal Gear Survive and Contra Road Corp were handled, though, I have my doubts. I seriously have my doubts. Despite them releasing the Castlevania Advanced Collection recently, though, I still have my doubts on them handling it, and it's also Konami, to be exact, though. We also learned that Crystal Dynamic is helping the initiative with the upcoming Perfect Dark reboot, though. Some have speculated that the game may be in trouble, though. Is it in trouble, though? It's a possibility, or it could just be them helping out in some area. So we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. And the game still is early in development, so time will tell if this is a case of them having to step in because they're in trouble with something, or it's just nothing really at all. We also learned that the upcoming game Record of Loblas, if I'm saying the name correctly, War Deity in Wonder Labyrinth is coming to the Nintendo Switch this year. It will also be coming to other systems too. This game was released on Steam, though, and for what I understand, it got very positive reviews, though, and judging by the gameplay footage that they showed off of it, though, I'm definitely getting a Sympathy of the Night vibes out of it, though, especially considering this is supposedly is a Metroidvania style of a game, which by all means, that's not a bad thing at all. So definitely looking forward to this one, though. As for anime titles in general, they could be a hit and miss. Some aren't great, but then there are some that are not as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. So I'll keep an eye out on that one. We also learned that Nintendo isn't abandoning Switch Online NES or Super NES games. Supposedly they're still coming, though, which is on one hand great, but I would rather them do a better release schedule than how they are handling the NES and Super NES library games. Excuse me. We also learned that supposedly that Game Boy Color and Game Boy games are still scheduled to come to the Nintendo Switch, though. They just don't know when as part of the Switch's online service. Other reports are pointing out to the fact that it might be not part of the premium package that they are planning to do with the N64 and Sega Genesis, though. So we'll have to wait and see. I still don't mind Game Boy or Game Boy Color games coming to it. I would like to see Game Boy Advance games come to the Nintendo Switch online service, so hopefully that will happen as well. We also learned that Kenya Bridge of Spirit basically is not, the developers are not ruling out the possibility of it porting to other systems. Right now, it's only available on the PS5, I believe PC, but I'm not 100% sure. But we'll have to see if the game basically will be coming to other systems as well. If it's possible it could be a time exclusive, and if that's the case, I don't know how long that time exclusive could be. Sometimes it could be a year, sometimes it could be longer, it could be shorter. So time will tell whether or not we see another port of this game coming to other systems like Xbox Series S and X, or even the Nintendo Switch, if that is possible, though. We also learned that supposedly Universal Studios in Japan is confirming that they will be opening up the Donkey Kong Country Land that was part of, the Nintendo world that's in Universal Studios in Japan, though. So that little door that they had set up for it, that symbol looked very similar to the Donkey Kong series. Turns out that is true. That is certainly nice, though. I'd be very curious to see what rides they have available on the Donkey Kong Land side of it, though. And it does make you kind of wonder, could we see other theme parks based off Nintendo's popular characters? Could they do one based off of Kirby, which I think that wouldn't surprise me if they do that one. Possibly Metroid, Fire Emblem. So we'll have to wait and see whether that happens or not. But right now it does seem like the Donkey Kong Land one is happening, though. We also learned that supposedly the Grand Theft Auto Remastered Trilogy has been rated in Korea, though. This was a game that has been rumored for a while that supposedly that Rockstar is working on a remaster of Grand Theft Auto 3 Vice City and San Andreas, supposedly running on Unreal Engine 4 though, and it's coming to multiple systems including the Nintendo Switch though. We've heard reports about it possibly being delayed till next year and all. As far as this rating goes, while it is possible it could be inaccurate, it is worth pointing out though that ratings we've seen on Korea and even in Taiwan, a good chance of it usually ends up being true though. I mean, we saw this with the Borderland collection for the Nintendo Switch, Bioshock, XCOM, Kathlina Full Body Edition. They appeared on a rating, I think, in Korea and in Taiwan, and that ended up being true. So I'm leaning towards the possibility that this sounds more and more likely this is going to be true though, but we'll have to wait until we hear an official confirmation. And last but not least though, we have learned that Rune Factory 5, the upcoming entry in the next Rune Factory series, will now feature, at least in the West though, same-sex marriage though, which honestly, I don't see any issue with this at all. I mean, for crying out loud, games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age allowed same-sex relationships though. Fire Emblem Fates allowed same-sex marriage but done in the way Nintendo does it though. So to me, it's no big deal. You want to play you want to play as a straight character, fine. You want to play as a gay character, fine. Ultimately, that's at the end of the day, that's going to be your call how you want to play, what kind of character you want to make. And also for this one, I mean, it's certain. There's nothing. I don't see anything wrong with it though. It ultimately comes down to what kind of character you want to make and so forth. Okay, with the quick my 2 cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story. And this one we're going to be talking about has to do with the whole situation surrounding Bayonetta 3. Now, one of the biggest surprises from the Nintendo Direct last week that ended was with the official showing of basically Bayonetta 3. This is a game that a lot of Nintendo fans, and particularly Bayonetta fans, have been waiting to hear for a while. Ever since it was shown at the 2017 Video Game Awards, though, with that teaser trailer, we really did not get a whole lot of information. There were reports of development troubles, the project had to be restarted, rebooted in a way. Excuse me. There were concerns about the possibility that the project has been canceled, but Nintendo and Platinum had come out saying that's not the case, which, while that was true, with nothing to show though, there were concerns the fact that there wasn't really anything that it's possible the game was in trouble. Well, when the Nintendo Direct happened and we saw first gameplay footage and a cutscene here and there though, I think it put those doubts to rest though, and it's definitely looking like a title that I think a lot of fans have been waiting for. It's definitely, assuming it could hit its launch date though, it's one of the titles I'm definitely looking forward to in 2022. Well, now a lot of things have sort of popped up since that trailer has been revealed, and some of it may have to do with ranging from a couple things. The first one has to do with the fact that a mechanic that may have been used in the canceled Scalebound game, that was a game between Microsoft and Platinum that was originally supposed to come to the Xbox One, now could be making its way over to Bayonetta 3. In an article posted on Nintendo Life though, there apparently seems to be some links to the possibility of Scalebound and all. In the article it reads, quote, "The Bayonetta 3 Nintendo Direct trailer began like a scene out of Astro Chain," excuse me, and ended up more like something from Platinum Games' cancelled action RPG Xbox project Scalebound. Why though? As highlighted by former Scalebound creative director JB Kellyams on Twitter, if I'm saying his person's name correctly, it's quite possible because Bayonetta 3 director was the lead designer on the Xbox exclusive. He goes on to note how a move allowing summons to be controlled also looks very similar to the mechanic that the Bayonetta 3 director and his team have been working on its Scalebound. He posted this comment on Twitter. He also points out that if this individual's involvement isn't already enough to convince you that something inspiring might have been drawn to his canceled project, some fans theorize has now taken it a step further. At the very end of the latest Bayonetta 3 trailer, there's a mysterious figure, and well, it seems to be a theory doing the rounds on social media that this character might actually be Drew, the guy who was going to be the protagonist in Scalebound, though. This person pointed this out on Twitter. It says, this came from someone from Average Xeno Enjoyer to HMK to other folks, though. The article reads that, quote, "Keep in mind this is all just speculation for now, but it would be rather interesting to see if Platinum Games decides to resurrect the canceled Xbox project via a Nintendo Switch exclusive. In fact, there were rumors back in 2019 that even suggested something similar. The last time we heard about the future of Scalebound IP was in 2020 when Platinum told fans to send a letter to Xbox head Phil Spencer if they want it to see it revive." Now, is it possible that some mechanics in Scalebound made their way to Bayonetta 3? I mean, that's a possibility, though. There may have been some ideas that they wanted to do but couldn't do with Scalebound to exact. Maybe it's possible they may have trimmed it down or maybe improved upon it. So there is that possibility. As the character being Drew from Scalebound, though, again, it could be him, it could be someone else. So right now, it's anyone's guess at this time. As for Scalebound itself, though, would I like to see this project revived? I would. Right now, there's no word of that this is going to even come to the Nintendo Switch, despite the rumor back in 2019. And even if it is true, though, it's possible that it could be a different version than what was shown back during Microsoft's press conference. But if basically Platinum saying is true that they want fans to send a letter to Xbox head Phil Spencer, though, then it is possible that the IP still might be owned by Microsoft and all. And if that's the case, and if that's true, I really think Microsoft should consider reviving Scalebound, though. I mean, given where the Xbox Series X and S at this time, though, I think this would be a good opportunity to possibly revive this project, especially for something to add to sort of Game Pass, which I really think would be a neat idea. Although I would be okay with this coming to the Nintendo Switch, I certainly would not have a problem if this was revived on the Xbox Series S and X. But we'll see. I mean, it's possible we never see Scalebound may never happen again, but if it does exist, though, it's possible it might still exist in Bayonetta 3, though. Speaking of Bayonetta 3, though, it seems as though since that trailer has been revealed, it seems that some people are still hoping for this game to come to basically other systems, though. In another article from Nintendo Life, Hideki Kamiya, who is known to troll and block people, but no doubt he's a really good producer for a lot of the games that he's put out, has sort of reminded fans about Bayonetta 3 is a Nintendo Switch exclusive. Basically, the translation of his latest tweet, courtesy of Nintendo Everything, here's what he had to say. Quote, "Just like with Bayonetta 2, we're developing Bayonetta 3 with funding from Nintendo. We are only involved in development. All decisions about the final product are up to Nintendo, so feel free to send your requests of release the game on other consoles to Nintendo. If Nintendo asks us to port the game to PS5, we might do that. I mean, I guess the likelihood of Bayonetta 2 and 3 coming to PS5 and Xbox isn't impossible. It's Nintendo's decision. By the same logic, it's not impossible that games like Mario and Zelda could show up on PS5 or whatever. So good luck sending passionate pleas to Nintendo and trying to get that happen. If I were you, I simply buy a Switch." Now, you may not agree with his approach or how he said it, though, and sometimes I think I don't always 100% agree with the way he words it or says it, though, but he's not entirely wrong, though. I mean, since Nintendo is fully funding Bayonetta 3 with their own money, it's their decision to decide whether or not they want it to appear on other systems. And if the only way to play Bayonetta 3 is on the Nintendo Switch, then unfortunately, you're going to have to get a Nintendo Switch. I know some people would say emulate, like on PC and all, but putting the emulation part aside, though, you would have to get a Nintendo Switch. People asking for Bayonetta 3 to appear on other systems is like me asking for Starfield to appear on the Nintendo Switch and the PS5. As much as I would like that to happen, at the end of the day, it's Microsoft's call since they now own ZeniMax and Bethesda, though. So whatever decision they make, though, if they decide the only way you're going to play Starfield is basically either get an Xbox Series S and X, get Game Pass, or get a PC, that's the only way you're going to play it. It's the same view I have with, the same approach I have with Bayonetta 3. So regardless of whether people want to hear it or not, though, it's going to be anyway, the point is, regardless if whether you want to hear that or not, at the end of the day, that's what it is. So overall, the fact that some features may be making their way from Scalebound onto Bayonetta 3 is kind of interesting, and it could indicate that Scalebound is living on in some form, in some capacity, though. But although I will admit, I would like to see that IP revived, whether the rumors about Nintendo coming to the Nintendo Switch, or whether or not the possibility of Microsoft reviving it, who knows, though. As for Bayonetta 3 coming to other systems, though, given the fact that Nintendo is the one funding this game, though, it's going to be their call at the end of the day, and odds are, if you want to play it, you're going to have to get to a Nintendo Switch. As for this idea of it being an alternate timeline based on the trailer for Bayonetta 3, or the idea of Platinum setting up their own cinematic universe, I would say it's possible, but it's also not out of the realm of possibilities, though. So we'll have to see more of the story to get an idea of whether some of these fan theories that are being thrown out there are true or not. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with Square Enix responding to people who have played the demo of Triangle Strategy, though. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the response Square Enix has made with Triangle Strategy. Now, one of the new games that Square Enix had announced, though, and I think they announced this maybe at a past direct, was a brand new game under which run on the HD 2D engine, or their approach to the visual style. This is a sort of approach very similar to one of my favorite games in 2018, and that was Octopath Traveler. Fun game indeed. Definitely recommend it, regardless of if you have a Nintendo Switch, PC, Stadia, or an Xbox system, whether via Game Pass, though. Well, one of the games that they announced was obviously this one originally called Project Triangle Strategy, which they now call Triangle Strategy, though it's sort of an odd name, though. But one of the things they had was a demo for people to try out and basically get a good response of how people felt about the demo and all. Well, Square Enix has recently responded, and they showed off what exactly some of the changes that they have made, though, based off the fan feedback, though. There have been several articles about it, though, but I won't read all of it, though, but I will read some of the stuff that will read snippets of what they have put in, though. If you're interested in the list, though, links will be in the description, though. This one is from Nintendo Life. So here are some of the changes, some of that they made. In terms of under loading times, they said, quote, loading times during events has been reduced and are now approximately 10 seconds shorter in most notable scenes, though. Under events, though, they said that, quote, in the debut demo, it was necessary to return to the world map after seeing an event. In the final version of the game, you'll be able to view a series scenario events in succession, reducing the number of times the player is sent back to the world map, though. They also pointed out the cursor speed on the world map is now faster when selecting an event. Additionally, icons for characters, episodes, and side stories have been made easier to distinguish. Battle difficulties, they said they've now added hard and easy difficult settings has been added, though, which should be nice for depending on what your playstyle is and how difficult you want the game to be. Battle operations, they said the camera controls have been adjusted, though. They've also made other changes and improvements. Controls for SERENOA during RPG mode has been improved. A input is now required to enter and leave houses to prevent entering by mistake. Panel colors when selecting a destination has been adjusted. Add an icon indicating successful back attack. Add a feature to automatically pause and create save data per turns and battles. Implemented gameplay tips during loading screens. Add a scene during battle preparation to show a list of deployable and non-deployable units. Add a feature to display guides about the terrain's effects during battle. Add a feature to allow the button guide information at the bottom of the screen to be hidden. Add a feature to show character's final destination prior to using an ability that involves character movement. Improve the display of buff, debuff, and the number of turns affected will last on objects. Implement a battle retry feature. Button assignments have been adjusted. And the developers concluded with this statement saying, quote, "Based on the survey results, users have high expectations for the game's story, the personality of the characters, and the systems for leveling up and improving characters in tactical strategy games. These are elements you may not have been able to enjoy fully in the debut demo. However, in the final version of Triangle Strategy, you'll be able to experience the event leading up to the invasion and what happened after you make specific decisions. The story will branch out in various ways and many unique characters will enter the story. I hope you look forward to it though." Lastly, our development team was very happy to receive encouraging results about purchase intended from those who responded to the survey. We will continue to develop the game in an effort to meet your expectations. We appreciate your continued support for Triangle Strategy. So it's very nice and very encouraging that the developers are taking these feedbacks to make the game based on what people wanted to expect and everything like that. That certainly is a good thing, and I like when developers do that. Get appropriate feedback though. I mean, I know there's some that probably will be trolling though, but get enough to get an idea of what areas maybe they need to make adjustments here and there so people can enjoy it though. So it's really nice that Square Enix is doing that though. It certainly makes me feel more comfortable of picking this game up when it comes out though. Plus, I like the art style to the game. It looks really nice, and it also kind of makes me wish though that we hear about a sequel to Octopath Traveler. Obviously it's happening, but it's probably going to be off for a bit, but hopefully we'll hear more about that game soon. Hopefully soon, that is. But overall though, very nice that Square Enix is taking some of the feedbacks for the upcoming game Triangle Strategy though. Like I said, it makes me more confident in picking up this game though, and I really would like to see more developers take that kind of approach. Release a demo and then take some of the feedback that some people have about the demo to give their thoughts on what areas they would like to see some improvement on, to be exact. So I definitely like this approach that Square Enix did with Triangle Strategy though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with a new rumor about Switch 4K that to the point got Nintendo and the developers to actually respond to this, but now adding more to it seems to be that a patent was filed by Nintendo that might indicate maybe this is true to a certain extent though. But anyway, we'll take a quick break though, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at an interesting rumor regarding the whole Switch 4K that got to the point that Nintendo had to respond to this big time though. Now, I'm sure ever since the Nintendo Switch came out, there have been rumors multiple times about people claiming that Nintendo is working on a 4K Nintendo Switch. Some calling it a Switch 2, some calling it a Switch Pro though. So this rumor has gone back forth many times. We've heard rumors about it a couple years ago when they announced that a 4K Switch was happening along with the Switch Mini, which later turned out to be the Switch Lite. And then earlier this year we heard rumors about the possibility of Nintendo doing a 4K with OLED screens and all, and that rumor kind of turned out to be true in one part but false on the other part. It did turn out to be true that Nintendo is releasing a new Nintendo Switch which uses the OLED screen though, which will be out this month though. But what led this to be false, however, is that it obviously wasn't the 4K though. But that hasn't stopped Bloomberg, which has reported on the Switch 4K rumors before, hasn't stopped them from reporting this latest one, to the point that it got Nintendo to respond to this though. In the first article that pointed this out though, let me see if I can click on it. There we go. Basically, we'll read you the original article before getting the update from Nintendo. It reads that, quote, the new Switch OLED model released worldwide next week on October 8th, but a new report from Bloomberg, which I would like to point out, that's behind a paywall, suggests a 4K Nintendo system could be on the way. According to the source, employees from at least 11 game companies are in possession of the Nintendo 4K development kit for the Switch. These teams are believed to span the globe and range from large publishers to small studios. One of the companies Bloomberg has been in contact with is with Zynga Inc., the mobile giant behind the upcoming free-to-play download title Star Wars Hunter, expected to arrive in 2022. The employee who shared this information were asked not to be identified as they were not authorized to discuss the project publicly, though. Bloomberg goes on to state how a Nintendo system capable of handling 4K games isn't expected to be released until late next year at the earliest. The developer in possession of 4K kit declined to speculate Nintendo's plan for another console, but said their 4K Switch games will likely arrive after the second half of 2022. The source further noted how the number of companies actually using the 4K kit is probably much higher than the amount identified. In July 2021, not long after the reveal of the Switch OLED, Nintendo said it had no plans to launch any other models. Bloomberg report claims the company has already handed out 4K kits to outside developers by then, and asked them to design software that would support this higher resolution. Towards the end of the report, Nintendo said Nintendo could decide not to release a 4K Switch based on the strategic reasons and technical challenges. Now, after this whole story went live, though, after this report from Bloomberg came out, Nintendo responded immediately afterwards, though, and and they sort of updated this with the response to Bloomberg's report. Here's what Nintendo had to say. Quote, a news report on September 30th, 2021 falsely claimed that Nintendo is supplying tools to drive game development for a Nintendo Switch with 4K support. To ensure correctly understanding among our investors and our customers, we want to clarify that this report is not true. We also want to restate that as we announced in July, we have no plans for any new model other than Nintendo Switch OLED model, which will launch on October 8th, 2021. Adding to Nintendo denying this report, Game Radars updated their story and that apparently the development team there on that Star Wars Hunter game, I think the development team called Zynga, if I'm saying their name correctly, have now come out, or at least someone has come out in a statement to Kotaku denying this. They're saying, quote, then in a statement to Kotaku, Star Wars Hunter developer Zynga denies that they ever had access to a Nintendo Switch 4K console. It said, as a Switch developer for the upcoming Star Wars Hunter game that Zynga announced on a recent Nintendo Direct, we can confirm that none of the development kits Zynga has or in its receipts are 4K development kits. Now, supposedly this should be the end of this whole story, but now it may add some light to it. I'm not saying 100% sure that apparently a patent reveals that Nintendo might be working on an upscale technology, though. Apparently, it's reporting that they might be using the Deep Learning Sample Service, DLSS, that NVIDIA is developing, though. It seems to be pointing towards, according to this one, according to a statement, at least part of this from Nintendo Life, it reads, what makes this application intriguing is that Nintendo is clearly exploring this intentionally. A named party on the application is this one person who is a co-founder of Nintendo's European Research and Development, though. It also acknowledged in the introduction of the patent that this is an area being explored throughout the industry. So this whole thing has sort of, for the last 24 hours, this whole thing has gone up and down on this situation, though. Is it possible that this 4K Switch may not exist at all? I mean, it is possible, though, and Nintendo might be trying to get people, to buy the OLED, worrying that it could hamper the sales or anything like that. But at the same time, it's also possible it could be true, too, and that it's possible that whoever talked about this 4K development kit may have violated maybe an NDA that they may have signed with Nintendo to not talk about this or anything like that, though. And it wouldn't surprise me if Nintendo has something in development and research. I mean, obviously, every time a new console comes out, developers start thinking about their next console, though. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if Sony's thinking about the PlayStation 6, though, right now, though. But even if it does exist, it's possible it could be early in development, though. But I mean, at the same time, though, the Switch is going to reach a point where Nintendo is going to have to release a newer version of the Switch, though. I believe that Nintendo will stick with the Switch concept for a while, though, but I do think that we might be heading towards a situation where Nintendo may have to release a more powerful Switch. If I had to guess what it could be, I think it would be more likely that the next Switch will probably implement this DLSS, considering the partnership that Nintendo and Nvidia have right now. So my guess is it's something more like that. I doubt Nintendo is going to release a true 4K system, though, but I could be wrong on that one, though. As for this rumor itself, again, like anything, I'm taking it with a grain of salt, though. Until there is this official confirmation that the system actually does exist, though, I would be very careful, and something tells me we're going to hear more about these 4K Switch rumors. Even though Nintendo may be claiming it doesn't exist or anything like that, something tells me these 4K Switch rumors are not going to go away anytime soon. So overall, it's possible this rumor is probably false, though, but at the same time, it could be true to a certain extent, and if it is true, it is possible the developers maybe be under an NDA and they cannot talk about this or anything like that. So it's possible they could be denying this, and it's also possible, and it seems more than likely, regardless if this is true or not, Nintendo wants to clamp down on this quickly because they are worried that this could have an impact on the upcoming Switch OLED, and they don't want sales to be impacted on it. So as always, I'm taking the Switch 4K rumor with an absolute grain of salt. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 4. And this one, I want to give my thoughts on the game Voice of Cards, the Island Dragon Roar, if I'm saying that name correctly, though, based on my time with the demo I tried out, the Nintendo Switch demo, though. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back, excuse me, we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, I want to give my thoughts on the demo based off of Square Enix's upcoming game, Voice of Cards, the Island Dragon Roar, if I'm saying that name correctly, though. For those who are not familiar with it, the demo is available on the Nintendo Switch. I believe it's also available on the PS4, which I assume it could be available, which means you could probably download it on the PS5, but I'm not 100% sure. And I also believe it's available on PC too. And if you're interested in me playing the game, though, or gameplay from the Switch demo version, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. Now, this game was sort of interesting that they showed off during one of the Nintendo Directs. And one of the things they showed was it was an RPG, but done so in a way that kind of reminds me of those old tabletop RPGs, or like games like Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering, for those who may have played those games. I haven't really played those games, though, but I've heard of them before, though. And the fact that this was being developed by the same folks who handled Nier Automata and Nier Replicant, both are good games, I like to point out, was sort of interesting, to say the least. So I decided to give these games a go, and I will say my impression on it is actually quite in the positive, though, even though I think the whole concept seems a little odd, though. Basically, the gameplay is very similar to sort of what you have with a traditional JRPG, though. The most interesting aspect is that the whole world looks like from like Cards, though. You move like this like piece that you would see from a board game around the world, which is basically cards and all. During most of the battles you'll get are random battles, though, which basically have, you know, your traditional JRPG, you know, your magic and basically your health and all. What's interesting is the magics are done with these sort of crystals though, and each magic might require maybe 1 crystal, some might require 2 and all, and each cast of character has their own approach. Basically the cast they had was, I think, like a sorcerer, and then I think more of a melee type of a character and all, and then I think another magician though, so each one is sort of different. Basically what's interesting is that you also run into random events, and basically sometimes you can, like for example, one has like a goblin that's affected with poison. You can help or not help the person. I help that person by giving them sort of a basically, you know, an antidote to the poison though, and during the battle, when I move around, the character popped up and would give me some items. Other times you might run into a random creature that sometimes might give you gold, other times it might attack. What's interesting is every time you move around, the cards flip open and basically reveal another part of the area. Some areas you may not be able to access, like for example, if there's a mountain, if you try to move that and try to move up there, you won't be able to move there. Other times they might open up and show like a treasure chest, which may contain, you know, ranging from items, money, to even weapons and all. So the whole premiere and the whole concept is just sort of odd on one hand, but also kind of interesting in a way though. So it's a very unique approach that they have taken with this game. Also, the music in the game, definitely it's the mood and the music. You definitely get a bit of a near vibe out of it, and that certainly isn't necessarily a bad thing. So on one hand, it plays like a traditional RPG to a certain extent, but with but all around involving, you know, the whole situation with cards and all. It's a, like I said, a bizarre premise, but a very interesting one. And my takeaway on this one is that I found it to be interesting though, and the RPG mechanics I found to be easy to understand and try out, and it certainly is one game I'm definitely going to keep an eye out, especially when it comes out sometime maybe later this month though. So it's definitely one to sort of keep an eye out though, especially if you're fans of I think the guy's name's Yoko Tolo, if I'm saying his name correctly. If not, I apologize. Especially considering it's from the same development team that handled Nier Automata and Nier Replica. You definitely get that mood of that game in it though. It may not be those 2 games, Nier Automata and Nier Replica, that I would have loved to see come to the Nintendo Switch if possible, but I definitely think this game is definitely one I'm going to be keeping an eye out. To me, it's definitely a much more smaller title, but I could definitely see this one becoming sort of a hidden gem in a way. Anyway, to me, it's worth taking a look at though. The demo is available on the Nintendo Switch. I think it's available on other systems, PS4 and PC though. If you're not sure about the game, try the demo out and see if it's something that clicks with you though. But it's definitely, I could definitely see this one be sort of like a hidden gem for some folks out there though. Okay, this concludes my 2-cent video for this week, and again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about some of the stuff regarding Bayonetta 3 though? Do you find it interesting that some of the stuff from Scalebound made its way over to Bayonetta 3? Do you agree with what Hideki Kamiya said in regards of if you want to play Bayonetta 3, you have to get a Nintendo Switch though? Do you think this opens the idea of the possibility of a Platinum cinematic universe, or the possibility that Bayonetta 3 might be set in an alternate timeline in any shape and form? What are your thoughts about Triangle Square though? Are you pleased that Square Enix is getting feedback on some of the folks based off the demo though? Does this make you more interested in getting the game in any way though? Are you looking forward to playing this when this comes out sometime next year? What are your thoughts about this whole situation with 4K Nintendo Switch, this whole rumor? Do you think this rumor has gone maybe a little too far though? Do you think Nintendo's response to it makes sense, the fact that there isn't a 4K Nintendo Switch? Or do you feel like that it does exist, but they don't want it to impact the upcoming release of the Switch OLED in any way? And what are your thoughts about Voice to Cards and the Island of the Dragon War though? Have you tried out the demo yet? If so, which one did you try it on? Did you try it on the Nintendo Switch, the PS4, or PC though? Do you like the approach that they're making it though? It's an RPG, but with But the whole setting evolves with the cards, though. Do you think it's an interesting concept, though? Do you see this as one being sort of like a hidden gem in any way? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, and I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!